There is a place in South Carolina, south of Columbia, deep in the low country, where the live oaks drip with Spanish moss, where rivers move slow and dark, and where family names carry more weight than the law itself. This is Hampton County. Population, roughly 20,000. And for nearly a century, one family ruled it all. The Murdaughs. Not just wealthy, not just prominent, but woven into the very fabric of justice in this region, as lawyers, as prosecutors, as power brokers, for 4 generations. But on the night of June 7th, 2021, 2 people were found dead on that low-country estate, and the name Murdaugh would never mean the same thing again. To understand what happened, you first have to understand who this family was. Richard Alexander Murdaugh, known to everyone as Alex, was the 4th consecutive Murdaugh to serve as a senior partner at Peters, Murdaugh, Parker, Eltzroth, and Dietrich, a personal injury law firm based in Hampton, South Carolina. His great-grandfather, Randolph Murdaugh Sr., was elected solicitor of the 14th Judicial Circuit, the chief prosecutor for 5 low-country counties, back in 1920. That same seat was then held by his grandfather, and then his father, Randolph Murdaugh III, in an unbroken family dynasty that lasted all the way until 2006. For 86 years, the Murdaughs were the law in that part of South Carolina. Their personal lives matched that power. The family owned Moselle, a sprawling 1,700-acre hunting estate in Colleton County. Deer hunting, duck hunting, dog kennels, all of it. Alex Murdaugh moved through the world of Hampton and Colleton counties the way old money always does. Effortlessly, visibly, untouchably. He drove nice cars, wore khaki and Brooks Brothers, sat on charity boards, coached youth sports. He was, to all outward appearances, the living embodiment of Southern establishment success. But behind that facade, something was rotting. Before this became a legal saga, before the courtrooms and appeals and headlines, it was a tragedy. Margaret Maggie Murdaugh was 52 years old. By all accounts, she was warm, devoted to her family, deeply embedded in the social life of her community. She loved her sons, she loved her dogs, she loved this land. Paul Murdaugh was 22, a young man studying business at the University of South Carolina. He had his father's last name and was navigating his own complicated path. He'd been involved in a 2019 boat crash that killed a 19-year-old girl named Mallory Beach. That case was still pending. Paul was the subject of scrutiny, yes, but he was still someone's child. On the evening of June 7th, 2021, Maggie and Paul were shot multiple times near the dog kennels at Moselle. The weapons, a shotgun and a rifle, were never found. Alex Murdaugh claimed he found them when he returned from visiting his ailing mother. The investigation that followed didn't just uncover a double homicide. It tore open a world of secrets that stunned even those who thought they knew Alex Murdaugh well. Investigators discovered that Murdaugh had been stealing from his own clients, many of them poor, working-class people who had trusted the Murdaugh firm with personal injury settlements. For over 2 decades, the total amount stolen, nearly $9 million. He had also been a secret opioid addict for years, funneling stolen money partly to feed that addiction. In September 2021, just 3 months after the murders, Murdaugh staged his own shooting on a rural South Carolina highway. He hired a man to shoot him in the head so his surviving son, Buster, could collect a $10 million life insurance policy. The bullet grazed him. The plan failed. The shooter was eventually charged. The man who had built his identity on legal authority and family legacy was now exposed as a thief, a fraudster, and potentially a murderer. In early 2023, Alex Murdaugh sat in a Walterboro, South Carolina courtroom and faced 2 counts of murder. The trial was a cultural phenomenon, live-streamed across the internet, watched by millions. Court seats were lined out the door every single day. prosecutors presented a case built partly on evidence from Murdaugh's own phone. A video Paul had recorded at the dog kennels just minutes before both were killed, which placed Alex's voice, and his distinctive shorts, at the scene, contradicting his claim that he'd never been near the kennels that night. After 6 weeks of testimony, nearly 90 witnesses, and almost 600 exhibits, the jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty. On both counts, Alex Murdaugh was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences. It seemed at last like justice had been served. But the story wasn't over. On May 13, 2026, the South Carolina Supreme Court made a decision that sent shockwaves across the state and across the country. In a unanimous 5-0 ruling, the court overturned Alex Murdaugh's double murder convictions entirely and ordered a new trial. The reason? A woman named Rebecca Becky Hill, the Colleton County Clerk of Court, had interfered with the jury during the trial. The court found that Hill had made comments to jurors suggesting they could not trust Murdaugh's testimony, coaching them on his body language during his time on the stand. She had later written a book about the trial, a book she was actively promoting, while the verdict was still fresh. Hill was later charged with perjury, obstruction of justice, and misconduct. She pleaded guilty in December 2025 and received 3 years of probation. The Supreme Court's ruling was unsparing. The justices wrote that Hill had placed her fingers on the scales of justice, and that her conduct egregiously attacked Murdaugh's credibility. They concluded they had no choice but to order a new trial. Alex Murdaugh will not walk free. He remains behind bars on separate state and federal sentences, totaling decades, for his financial crimes. But his murder convictions? Gone. And the fight for justice is not over. South Carolina's Attorney General Alan Wilson said he will aggressively seek to retry Murdaugh as soon as possible, possibly before the end of this year. Murdaugh's attorneys released a statement saying Alex has said from day one that he did not kill his wife and son. And now, across South Carolina and beyond, people are asking a question with no easy answer. What does justice mean for Maggie and Paul Murdaugh? For the families of the other victims connected to the sprawling web of Murdaugh crimes, like Mallory Beach, who died in that 2019 boat crash? Justice has always felt complicated, out of reach, filtered through power and privilege. For the people of Hampton County, many of them poor, many of them the very clients the Murdaugh firm stole from, the sight of a man from that family getting a second chance at a murder trial stings in ways that words can barely capture. And for those who believe the evidence against Alex Murdaugh was overwhelming, who watched that trial, who heard that video from the kennel, who watched him sob on the stand, the idea that a court clerk's misconduct could reset the entire case is a gut punch. There's a word for what a lot of people are feeling right now: exhausted. Exhausted by a system that seemed, for a moment, to have caught a powerful man. Exhausted by the revelation that even that moment may have been compromised. Exhausted on behalf of 2 people, a wife and a mother, a son and a brother, who were found shot to death in the dirt beside a dog kennel on a 1,700-acre estate in the deep South Carolina Lowcountry. Maggie was 52. Paul was 22. And whatever Alex Murdaugh did or didn't do on that June night in 2021, they deserve more than a saga. They deserve the truth. The case of Alex Murdaugh is far from over. A new trial will come. More testimony, more headlines, more tears in a Walterboro courtroom. But what this case has already revealed about money, about power, about the way names and connections can bend institutions meant to protect everyone equally, that revelation can't be untried. Hampton County, Colleton County, the Lowcountry, a family dynasty built over a century, a night that ended 2 lives, and a justice system still searching for the truth. Stay with us. This story isn't over.